Okay, so another approaches exam question. This is for Mrs. H, Psychology, for paper 2, approaches, another behaviourist question. This time it was about 2 types of reinforcement that needed to be applied to a STEM. So here's the STEM that they've given. Sophie's made new friends, recently passed a driving test, wants and uses her parents' car. They're concerned because she stays out late. Even though she's promised to be back by 11. Explain how they could use 2 different types of reinforcement to encourage Sophie to be home by 11. Right, this question is not about punishment. Don't mention punishment. Punishment is the opposite of reinforcement. So it needs to be on positive and negative reinforcement. So let's have a look at how we answer this. Okay, so the best way to answer it is by referring to positive reinforcement, but you won't get a mark just for naming it. You need to define it really. Positive reinforcement is giving something pleasant, something pleasurable, which strengthens behavior. And then we want to give a concrete application. So for example, she would be rewarded every time she comes home on time. So maybe she gets pocket money or something, the promise of something else that she wants every time that she comes home early. Okay, so it needs to have a concrete example. We need to define it clearly. Reinforcement is always about strengthening behavior. Positive is always about giving something nice, pleasant to strengthen that behavior, and then a very concrete example. Negative reinforcement is the one that a lot of people get confused with. Negative reinforcement is always still strengthening behavior because any reinforcer strengthens. It's not the same as punishment. So here it is defined as, negative reinforcement is defined as taking away something aversive, something you don't like, something unpleasant, to still strengthen the behavior you want, to strengthen the behavior. So they want her to come home earlier. So maybe that would be then taking away the threat of losing the car, the use of the car, taking away the threat of her being grounded or gated or whatever you want to call it. So basically it's removing that threat of a punishment. So it's not punishing her, but so it will depend on how you word this, but basically you're trying to get across that it's removal of some sort of something negative that's hanging over her as long as she arrives home early. Okay, so be careful, define it clearly and make sure you've got what they would refer to here as a concrete example, very specifically about this scenario of the car and Sophie. Okay, if it's an off-the-shelf answer, you're not going to get that second mark. So be very careful that you apply it specifically to this example.